everyone! Welcome to our YouTube channel, where stories come alive, colors explode, and every frame is pure magic. Let's dive in!
Mrs. Peters had 2 children. Her son, Sammy, was 7 years old, and his little sister, Annie, was 4. Sammy went to school every weekday, but Annie was still too young and stayed at home with her mother. When Sammy came home from school, he often played with Annie while their mother was busy. Most of the time, he was a model of kindness and patience. Just the other day, he had spent nearly an hour building a magnificent castle out of colorful blocks, only for Annie to knock it down with a gleeful giggle. Instead of getting angry, Sammy just laughed, ruffled her hair, and started building it all over again, this time letting Annie place the final wobbly block on the highest tower. He would talk to her seriously, as if she were much older, explaining the rules of his favorite games or the stories from his school books. Because the children were usually so quiet and happy together, Mrs. Peters was able to do her work peacefully, the sound of their play a gentle backdrop to her day. One Saturday morning, the weather was exceptionally fine, with a bright sun warming the air. "Off you go into the garden," Mrs. Peters said, shooing them out the back door while she started preparing lunch. The garden was their little kingdom, surrounded by a white picket fence and blooming with roses. She could hear them through the open kitchen window, their voices full of excitement. They were explorers on a grand adventure, with Sammy as the brave captain navigating treacherous jungles, and Annie as his trusty first mate, a giggling shadow at his heels. Mrs. Peters smiled to herself as she chopped vegetables, pleased that everything was so calm and harmonious. The murmur of their voices was like music. Suddenly, the music stopped. The happy sounds were replaced by an abrupt, heavy silence that felt louder than their laughter had been. A moment later, a piercing wail shattered the quiet. Annie burst into the kitchen, her face streaked with dirt and tears, her little body trembling with sobs. She ran straight to her mother. Mrs. Peters immediately stopped what she was doing, wiping her hands on her apron and kneeling down to her daughter's level. "Why are you crying, Annie?" she asked gently, her voice full of concern. "Sammy's broken my toy horse," Annie wailed, pointing an accusing finger back towards the garden and crying even more loudly. Mrs. Peters sighed softly. This was unusual. She tried to understand what could have possibly happened. "How did he break it?" she asked, keeping her tone even. Annie stopped crying for a moment, her sobs turning into hiccups. She did not answer immediately. Her big eyes looked down at the floor as she scuffed her shoe against the tile, her little mind clearly working hard. After a few seconds of intense thought, she looked up and said quietly, "I hit him on the head with it." Mrs. Peters raised her eyebrows, a small smile playing on her lips despite the situation. "Well," she said calmly, "that explains why the horse didn't survive."